Hello, welcome back to my channel, beautiful. My name is Celine Adobea, and I really want to share the beautiful journey of self-education that I am on, that I have been on for the past 2 years, and how amazing it is, truly. So the reason why I started self-education is because I had no clue which line to choose, which school to choose, which country to choose. So many options, I don't know what to do. Somebody help me. So then I started looking into getting to know yourself. I think I probably Googled how do you know what's best for you? How do you figure out your purpose? How do you figure out what to do in this life with yourself and to make that decision right, And I feel like from before then I was already interested in spirituality, but I was still very much coming from a point of fear, or maybe not coming from a point of fear, but I would feel fearful if someone talked about something that was really different, really new, like spirit science would mention ego death, stuff like that I didn't really understand yet. I felt fear, I felt this uncertainty, and so I was kind of looking into it, but not as a student, if that makes sense. It was more just curiosity, which I feel like curiosity is the most important thing in education. I'm just gonna close the window. Da, 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 da. Zip is your love. Yeah, and what I can say, so I was talking about curiosity, right? And how curiosity, I feel like curiosity is a big part and importance when it comes to education and having a willingness to learn. I think there are different things that can motivate people and fuel them to study and to learn, but I feel like curiosity is a really powerful one, because then you have a bigger, I think, prerequisite to enjoy whatever you're studying when you're curious about it and to really want to absorb the information. I think even mentally, psychologically, the wiring that is present when you are curious is more available to absorb information. I remember from somewhere, I've been studying psychology for a long time, or for 2 years, and I haven't studied conventional psychology, which is the best part about self-education, because you can follow your own path. You choose your own path and whatever it is you want to study. So I was coming from a place of not knowing what I wanted to study conventionally. I had all these different interests: singing, dancing, writing, international relations, society, science, all these different parts and avenues and aspects of life and society and being in this point in time and space, and I didn't know what to choose, and so I didn't. And I ended up just thinking, you know what, we're in the time where you have access to the library. There was a time when the only way people would learn and have education available to them was through school, but we're living in a time where we have the internet, we have access to libraries, so we have access to an infinite amount of information externally as well as internally. But at that point in time, I wasn't aware of the internal landscapes yet in the way that I am aware of it today, so consciously. So I started going to the library, and I got some books about psychology, as I said, because I felt like I needed to gain self-awareness, and I felt like the place to start to gain self-awareness is with psychology, right? Let me see how all of this works. And I kind of geared off and started focusing on kind of proving why conventional education wasn't the best form of education, and why we should be open for an alternative way, or at least update it. There are so many things in society and life that we update and upgrade and make relevant for our times, but the educational system has been and is kind of old school in many ways. But I feel like it is opening up as well, and there are many things within it that I think work for a lot of people. So, and I've definitely learned a lot from the conventional educational system, and I used to be very angry at it and like anti-conventional schooling, and I think that was the part of me that felt like I had to prove why I wasn't following that path. And now I'm grateful with the path I'm on, and I'm not coming from a place of needing to prove. It's more of a place of sharing, like, this is what I've been doing, this is what I'm learning, this is my excitement, it's brought me and it brings me so much joy, and I'm just happy to be in a place where I can share. Yeah, so I started looking more and more into spirituality and spirit science, which is a YouTube channel, and really connecting the spiritual world with the scientific world more and more. And theta healing is such a beautiful expression of this. Metaphysical anatomy is what I'm studying right now. It's so amazing. I've ordered the Metaphysical Anatomy book as a gift from my dad for Christmas. He transferred money to me and then he was like, buy whatever you want. And I was like, that's the book I want. I'm so excited. I've been looking into it today. And what's fantastic about really doing self-education is that you get to know yourself in a beautiful way, because it's like now you're free to study whatever it is you want to study. What are you going to follow? And for me, I wanted to follow this, right? I began with trying to discover what is right for me, but from a place of needing to prove myself. And in that process of gaining self-awareness and self-love and really practicing that, I'm now coming from a place of, and I would recommend, like, if anyone is interested in self-education today, then I would recommend coming from a place of what brings you joy. And if you don't know, because I remember getting this question in the beginning as well, like, what brings you joy? And for me, it was freedom. That was one of the big things, and that was also why self-education made sense, because I'm free to then choose whatever I want to study. And I also recognized how everything is connected. So for example, oh my god, I have so much to share. For example, if you're very into carpenting, you love carpenting, you love building things. In the process of carpenting, you learn about mathematics, you learn about measurements. A carpenter might be better at measurements than an actual mathematician, because a mathematician who is very excited and interested in numbers might have less of a relationship with mathematics in the realm and the field of measurements. That whilst a carpenter, for example, my dad, he can see that something is 10 centimeters and like have an estimate, and then when you actually get the ruler and measure it, it's like 10 centimeters, because he's practiced that, you know, he's in that field. That's his genius. And I feel like everyone has a genius. It's in our genes, and it's about really connecting with that and bringing that forth in whatever way feels true and good for you in today's world. And this is what I'm focusing on now. Like, that's the evolution of my self-education. And I'm really into self-awareness, like I said, self-love, healing, enlightenment, living, being, breathing the best experience and expression as possible. So if you look at the world that we're living in today and the world that was around for like 40 years ago, there is such a big difference. And it's like the technology is helping us really evolve in a fast way. And I feel like there's a lot of potential with the way we can educate ourselves and each other. One of my favorite ways of learning is through another person's experience. And what I think is very constricting in the conventional educational system is that you get one person's perspective. This very often European man from 1672, for example, experienced, discovered, said this and that, and that's the theory that we're sticking to. That's the theory you need to study, remember, and your ability to copy and say what it is he said will give you the greatest score and bring you up in life, and you on the new level, you're doing well, you're successful, right? And the reason why that's very constricting is because you're getting one perspective, you're getting one theory, one source. And when that source works the best, it makes sense to use it, it makes sense to follow it, and it makes sense to study it. But at some point, people come in with their own perspective and build on that, you know? And when you have a limited way of studying something which says don't come with your own, because there's so much like mixed messages of like, we want you to write this, okay, this is where it's conflicting, right? For me, my self-education is me going exactly where I want to go with it, but following truth. Truth is like my favorite way of looking at something, because I feel like truth prevails. Truth is eternal. That's why the truth always comes out, because it's always there, even if you try to cover it up with whatever it is you're trying to cover it up with. And what comes in the conventional educational system is, this is what we want you to learn, but write it in your own words, in your own way. So that's like where the individuality comes through, but you're still not allowed to question. Very often if you question, but what about doing it this way? No, but that's not how we do it. This is just the way it's been, so that's the way it is. You know, I think that's very constricting, very limiting, and holds us back more than necessary. And I think that comes from a place of fear, of chaos, and of, I don't even know. Let me know if you have any thoughts about that. So yeah, what really excites me about these times is that we're having more and more like masterclass online, where people who are experienced within certain fields, like Alicia Keys, is teaching songwriting, song production from her experience. And you can then learn from people that you resonate with, people you relate with, and keep building on that. Like Theta healing and metaphysical anatomy are created by two different women who have their own perspective on healing and how to interact with the body in a new way, with an awareness of our emotional being, of our mental being, as well as our physical being, and really connecting us in a way that we haven't seen before. I personally am healing my womb, my fertility, my experience in this world and my body as a woman. And for 24 years, I didn't have a period, and now I do. I've had my first bleeding, and it's still something that I'm healing. It's still something that I'm getting to know and really integrating fully in my body, this womanhood. And the natural way has been my chosen way to go, because again, I felt like the conventional way was too constricting, where you go to, I did all the tests for, I feel like I'm sliding into another video now. Okay, it's fine. I felt like I went through all the different tests for them to check medically what was going on in my womb, and nothing was found except for underdevelopment. And they didn't find a cause, a reason, and all of that. So then they gave me these pills, these hormonal pills to go on, and I did that one round, nothing happened. And then I went back, and what they offered me was the same. Like, okay, try the pills again. And I've never been a fan of pills, like even Paracet, what's the other, like other like regular types of pills. I've never been one to like recognize it as something natural to do. Like, it hasn't made sense to me intuitively, and I always listened to that and recognize that as like, no, something is wrong for me about that. But I do recognize that it works for some people for what they want it to work for, in a way. Yeah. So yeah, so my perspective of the conventional way of doing it was that it was too limited, by which that they're just looking at my womb, looking at my physical body, and not really taking into account the emotional aspect of what it means to be a person, and the emotional experience and influence on our physical body. Because when you feel sad, you feel that in your body. When you feel angry, you feel that in your body. There is an expression of something that goes on physically, and there is a connection naturally. So what is that connection? That's what I'm learning through metaphysical anatomy, and I love it. I love it. I love it. And then also the mental, of course, we know that the brain and the neurons are what communicate with our body for us to be able to move and to be and to utilize the physical body. So of course there's a connection between our mentality and our physicality. So for me, I love studying healing because I perceive healing as an awareness of the full being and the connection of all the different aspects of being, the mental, emotional, the physical, and even the soul, and really connecting the dots to create permanent change, empowered change. And that's been my journey of self-education. That is my journey of self-education, and it's turned into a journey of self-awareness and self-love, and it's a practice of that as well, and I'm really happy to share it. And I'd love to hear your feedback. How do you resonate? What has this brought up within you? How is your experience with the conventional ways? Is it positive? Is it negative? I'd love to know. Really share our experience on this earth, and to make it better for ourselves, for each other, for our children, for our children's children, etc. I'm sending you love. So much love, beautiful being, and thank you for watching. Thank you so much for subscribing, those of you who have. Thank you so much for liking and commenting. Again, showing your support. Feel free to share this video as well. Yeah, see ya. There's some noise from the road outside though, but the fresh air feels so good. Okay, so if I'm like right here, then hopefully the sound will be okay. I feel like I should get a microphone. I did have one, and then my little sister, we had an accident.